Hello, Bible readers. It is Monday, March 8th. We're reading from Joel chapters 1 to 3, Philippians chapter 1, 1 to 30, and then 2 Kings chapter 14. I'm going to start by saying a couple things about Joel. On first reading, the book of Joel may give the impression of being a narrow, nationalistic work that glorifies Israel at the expense of every other nation. Yet, on the basis of Joel chapter 2, verses 28 to 32, Peter interprets God's action on the day of Pentecost. And Paul makes Joel 2:32 the heart of his gospel in Romans chapter 10, verse 13. Similarly, the church has always turned to Joel chapter 2, verses 12 to 19 for its lection on Ash Wednesday. Few books are more pertinent to our time. And so this is one of those Old Testament texts that is actually perhaps more abundantly relevant to us than we would maybe expect. And the reason I said abundant, first of all, I was distracted by deer outside the window. That's a 6-pointer. Maybe I should just turn it. Do you see him? I don't know if you see. Yeah, they're there. You see him? Anyway, I was distracted, so sorry about that. But the reason I said abundant is this is a book about abundant life. A drought is a good stand-in for crises that people know throughout all times, whether it be in Joel's time specifically or our time. You know, our drought is COVID time, right? And so our faithfulness, even through COVID time, will help us see and know abundance of life. That's what Joel's trying to get at. Abundance of life can be known at all times, in all places, to quote someone that I see in the camera every day, it seems. Okay, Philippians. Let's go to Philippians. Philippians chapter 1, verses 1 to 30. Paul writes, we just spoke of abundance. Paul writes from a place of joy, which is kind of odd because he's writing from prison and he's basically on death row at this point. But these Philippians, they are a group that just Paul has a soft spot in his heart for. He's always clicked with these Philippians for whatever reason. They're not perfect, but they are his joy and crown, we'll read. Philippi is a 10,000 person small city, inland 10 miles from a port. It was more an agricultural center than a shipping center like Corinth, for example, or port. It was a city, Philippi was, loyal to Rome. Lots of Italians there, but also lots of other kinds of people there as well. He writes the letter for two primary reasons and then some other reasons. But he writes to reassure them about his situation. Like, I'm all right. I mean, is he really? But I'm all right. And then number two, to commend Epaphroditus and explain why he's returning to them. That seems to be the very functional reason for the letter. And it gives him kind of an excuse to write kind of a thank you note for responding to the gospel. You know, it becomes a letter that includes encouragement and advice because that just comes natural to Paul, right? That's what he does. But really the functional reason is about commending Epaphroditus and explaining why he's going back to Philippi. Okay, 2 Kings. Now we get a text about Amaziah. What a great name, right? Amaziah of Judah and then Jeroboam II of Israel. And of course, we're still not coming across super faithful kings, but I thought I'd read you the commentary I have on this one. As we read about the various accounts of Israel and Judah's kings, from 1 Kings 12 through 2 Kings 14, we notice a rhythmic quality. The kings of Israel are regarded with disdain, while the kings of Judah are judged much more sympathetically. But what we see here in this section is a little different. Basically, everybody's not so great. And what we see is that the God who delivers people from oppression does so through unexpected agents. In the first place, we're astounded to learn that God answers the prayers of people even when they show no signs of repentance. Not only that, God calls sinners to be saviors. This violates expectations, for we tend to think of saviors as heroes, and we idolize heroes as people of irreproachable character. The point being made here is God can do God's work through broken vessels, to use a New Testament metaphor. God can use all kinds of people, even sinners, to do God's work. And that's kind of what the story of the kings are trying to bring to us now. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us at all times and in all places.